We on.
B1AG, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, I'm trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, like self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. Pick one code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG, I want the bag. Work my way from your garden to a track. Flip from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the partners and producers and the makers. B1AG, want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. Million black shovels at the same time. Million black shovels at the same time. Million black shovels at the same time. 4, 3, 2, 1, game time.
Good morning, B1AGers. Million black shovels in the ground at the same time. A million black shovels in the ground at the same time. 4, 3, 2, 1. April 3rd, 2021. We're trying to have a million black shovels in the ground at the same time. A million black people planting something at the same time. April 3rd, 2021, 4321 is the countdown. You're going to hear more about it. Hey, good morning. I hope y'all are feeling well. Today's show, B1AG, we're going to talk about black athletes and entertainers getting to the bag with AG. You know, we look up to a lot of these people, you know, Jay-Z, Beyonce, your Rick Ross, you know, all these athletes. You know, we look up to them for what they can do in their skill and specialty. But a lot of these athletes and people and entertainers, they are investing in agriculture. And we're going to talk about it because you might not really know. You know, they push, you know, if they score a lot of points or if they come out with a new song, you know, it's all over every news cycle. But they're not really talking about the real moves and investments they're making in agriculture to set them up for a real prosperous future. So, Farmer Brown, you know what it is, man. Let's give these people this daily bread, man. Let's give them that daily bread.
You know, once again, I would consider myself, I hate to use the word cheerleader, and so I'll say advocate of agriculture in general as a lifestyle. Obviously, we want to eat healthy. Obviously, want to support people who already have land, who already have operations going. We want to inspire the next generation of farmers and agriculturalists. But I think to really put it in context, because context is everything, we want to think about the careers in agriculture. And to me, this is a discussion that never gets old. And so when you think about the basics of what it is, okay, Fam opened the show talking about the athletes and entertainers. I was, you know, I've been under a rock when it comes to what's going on in our culture. I saw the story about Meek Mill, not to go too deep into that. He's an icon. He's a legend in the hip hop game. And I've seen a lot of discussion and dialogue about the tennis situation, the bunny hop or what have you. I wasn't there. I don't know the dynamics and the moving pieces around that. So I can't speculate or speak on whether this person did something right or wrong. But when I think about the broader, and this ties into B1AG, why imagery is everything. I've played basketball before, got beat and had to run laps around the court. Last time I played ball, I don't think social media was popping to give you a glimpse on how long it's been since I've been on the court. But saying that to say, when you think about the time that we're in right now, everything that's at stake. Not only our, place in the political realm as far as North America and the world, not only our place within our families as men and women seeking to take the next generation, make them better off than we are now, but also business. For those military-minded people, they say business is war. In any sort of war, you never want to present a show of weakness. You never want to present that you're not confident at any level. And, to me, reproducing is war. In a natural setting here at B1AG, we do all things nature. And a natural setting, if I'm a buck and I want to be able to mate with this ewe to have my progeny, you're going to have to do either a dance. Penguins do a dance. But animals that have horns, especially males, typically you're going to have to lock horns. We're in a media age now to where, okay, we've evolved as a society to where we don't necessarily have to we don't have to have physical altercations to exert our dominance or our right to be able to produce into the next generation. But we do have media. We do have social measurements. I'm one that says the ruler you measure yourself by is going to make all the difference in the world of how you measure your successes. If I'm measuring my successes based on, say, somebody that stole something to get what they have, or somebody that was good at a certain skill to get what they have, I'll be selling myself and my skills short. This applies as above, so below. As melanated people, as the B1AG family, there are many traits that we are the bosses of just by the nature of our lived real experience. Agriculture being one. I can't tell you that I'm a economic genius when it comes to dollars, because I don't, dollars are new to me. Dollars are new to my stock. There was a time maybe 200 years ago that those who I came from didn't understand the concept of I'm going to give you this coin, which would have been a coin at that time. Up to now, I'm going to give you a promissory note. Up to now, I'm going to give you a greenback. Currency changes over time. But one thing that's been consistent with the B1AG family is our connection with the land. And it's only been the last not even full 100 years that we've been severely detached. Studies show that we're actually the largest consumers of content. So tying this into B1AG, what I'm talking about with Meek Mill and just what is agriculture as individuals, what is agriculture as a community, how well are we representing? The proverbial bunny hop, whether it was just a friendly bet, whether it was something degrading or nefarious behind why somebody would film that, this is an archetype. This is a representation of strength within our community. His voice represents strength. His voice represents speaking up for those that don't have as loud of platforms. To me right now, the most important, and that's just my modest world opinion, is producers. Who are the producers? How well are they being represented? Are they being represented as people who, there's this picture of a slave looking up to Abraham Lincoln. I know you've seen that picture before during Emancipation. And it was this visual of this, melanated figure, and it was drawn on paper, but it was this image of concession. It was this image of submission. Thank you for letting me live. I've just made this country like a gazillion dollars for free for the last, maybe 200 years at that time. Don't get me into dates. But I'm going to beg you to make me equal. I've just made you rich, but I'm going to beg you to help you to make you richer. We have to really control our narratives. The concept of dancing around, whether psychologically, because many of us do it or have done it during the course of our careers, during the course of wanting to move up the ladder on the team, wanting to move up the ladder within the clique that's wanting to get your album out, wanting to move up the ladder as far as at this corporate job, wanting to move up the ladder in the social justice world. And so all of us want to move up a ladder. When we think about B1AG, when we think about the concept of codification, what is the most efficient? I would say, I don't want to say prideful as in ego, but dignity. You want to have a level of dignity in a world where you say business is war. So saying that to say agriculture to me is the best means of gaining this dignity. When we've shown as a group that it's enough of us that agree, we can produce something. Not only can we produce enough to feed, a critical mass of ourselves, our communities, our tribes, our villages. Hey, we've created a product that the world can benefit from wherever you're at. We've created systems We've invested our money. We've been, once we've gone out and danced this dance, we've conscientiously invested our time, effort, and resources into means to better produce, to sell to the world. Like we said, a dollar or whatever your means of trade, it doesn't have a color. It has value. And so we have opportunity as a people, just with our ancestral history alone and influence on culture, to drive what the food system looks like. But before I pass the mic, real quick, when we put agriculture in perspective, let's keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. It's basically soil preparation. Make sure your soil's good. Raising a crop, whether you're raising it for food, fuel, or fiber. Fiber being, the things necessary for our clothes. Fuel, these are your oils. Food, obviously, what we eat. Then you have to work with the ecosystem. Is there enough water where I want to produce this? Does this get enough sunlight? And then you're going to manure it. That's putting the poop down, enriching your soil. Irrigation, like we said, water, weeding. In any operation you do, whether it's a business or agriculture, you want to get rid of the weeds. Weeds cause problems. Weeds take away from the nutrients getting to where you're directing them. And harvesting. Once you spend all of this time building this business, building this ag enterprise, building this crop, building this garden, you want to reap the harvest of it. That in itself is a large operation. A lot of the immigrant workers that come here, I work for a couple of months, go back home, and then when it's time for harvest, I'll be back here to harvest, because that's a large operation. Let me not be a producer that has half of my ground that I had to till back under, which is what a lot of the farmers across the board had to deal with this past summer. The food chain had been disrupted, and so now the potatoes that I normally ship, a truck comes and picks them up, take them to the processor or the grocery store. That chain was disrupted. And that disrupted, it did affect our prices. If you're a person that pays attention to prices, because I do coupons, right? Prices have gone up, and it's not anything nefarious, more so than the system was affected. But that was also an opportunity for anybody watching to figure out, what did Pac say? Find the weakness in the game, and I sold it. What are these areas that made this potato suddenly go up in the price that normally was $1 per pound? Now it's $2 per pound. What are the things that happen? What can I do as a consumer, as an inventor, as an entrepreneur, as somebody that just cares about the environment and the health of humanity? What can I do to get this price back down? These outcomes don't come from wishful thinking, and any farmer will tell you that. Like, I can't wish that my crop's going to do well. I have to go out here and put in work. But real quick, to get into this conversation about how the athletes and entertainers are investing. And so when you put in perspective arts, entertainment, and recreation in North America, these are 2016 statistics. The same dynamic exists as far as the ratio between. But arts, entertainment, and recreation, this includes your sports, your entertainment, all forms of recreation, generated $294 billion. This is 2016. In that same year, farming, fishing, and forestry. This is just food, fishing, and forestry. This is how we're able to have wood tables, wood floors, these basketball courts, these baseball bats. 488 billion. This is just farming, fishing, and forestry. This didn't include the 666 billion from mining and extraction. These are natural resources, or the 1 trillion in science and technical services. So what the athletes, who some of which and entertainers that we're going to go through here briefly, understood was, I stand to make a lot more per my investment, per my input, investing in something natural. Many of the names we're going to go through here shortly invested directly in agricultural products or value-added products. Some of them went straight into energy production. We know people want to hop in their cars. We know people want to use their devices. Well, how do these work? I can plug my plug in a wall that was well created by Apple or whatever the product manufacturer. But if there's no energy surge for that plug to go into, coming through my wall, through the wires that the electrician ran through there, that the carpenter, built to cover for, do you get what I'm saying? These are jobs in making everything run more efficiently. And these athletes and entertainers, we often don't get the stories of how wise and intelligent they are in their investments. Once again, in the spirit of competition of sports and entertainment, one of the greatest competitions I feel like is facing us right now is, how do we get our representation in the food system, the primary operator circle, from 1.4% in North America to higher? If we're told that we represent 13% of the population, it is devastating that we're at 1.4% of the people who produce the food. I tend to think I know that at a time our ancestors produced 100% of the food that was consumed on North America. They weren't the primary operators, but it was black melanated fingers that produced 100%. And so for us to find ourselves in a position now, we're at 1.4%. I can't think of a more formidable competition. I can't think of a more formidable challenge. And once again, this challenge isn't just my ability to grow. What's my ability to network? What's my ability to innovate? What's my ability to build things? Once I got this idea of how something works, can I build a mechanism? Can I build a structure to make this thing that the green thumb figured out work better?
Now, when it comes to black athletes investing in agriculture, first thing I want to talk about is the NBA. Now, you have DeAndre Jordan. He's a center for the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie Irving, all-star point guard for the Brooklyn Nets. And Chris Paul, who's now with the Phoenix Suns, point guard. And, you see him on all the little State Farm commercials. But did you know that all three of these NBA stars invested in the plant-based meat substitute company Beyond Meat? Now, as an athlete, the food that they ingest is very important. They're athletes, so they have to sustain themselves, stay healthy. In the basketball, the regular season is 82 games. In a regular, normal NBA season, it's 82 games, a lot of flights, a lot of moving around. And what they eat is critical for them to not only just to be able to make it through the season, but, to keep their energy levels up and also just to sustain, without their bodies actually breaking down on them, and shutting down on them and keeping them from being able to compete at the highest. But they decided to, invest in this plant-based meat substitute. But it's not just they're investing in it, but this is also a product that they're going to use. So that's why I think it's important. Like, okay, if you're a person that likes collard greens and you eat a lot of collard greens, it might be smart for you to invest in that. So it's like while you're consuming it, you're consuming a product that you put money into. So it's not costing you anything. They're consuming this DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul, and also Kyrie Irving. They invest in Beyond Meat, but this is also a product that they're going to use and eat. So it's not costing them anything. They're investing in themselves at that point. Farmer Brown, what else? What do you have to say about Beyond Meat? That product.
So for my bag chasers, for my dot connectors, so if you do your research on Beyond Meat, and once again, when we're thinking about sustainability, obviously we want less cows grazing and pooping and putting methane in the air and polluting the water. And so it makes all the sense in the world to try to drive towards a more plant-based diet. Who is the largest farmland earner in North America? Who's been keeping up? It's Bill Gates. He owns 240,000 acres of the best farmland. This is along the Mississippi Valley. Who is one of the major investors in Beyond Meat? Dun, 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 dun. Bill Gates. For the people that chase the bag, once again, it's always wise to look at people who are successful to determine, what move should I make with what I have to work with. And so you're right. DeAndre Jordan, Kyrie Irving, and Chris Paul, they followed what was going on. Like you said, not only am I able to give myself a better access to healthy food, I'm going to invest in the company that's ultimately, going to sell this to everybody. And let me get on the front end versus the back end. So I think it was a very wise investment. But then also, I was talking about Meek Mill, and it's funny we bring that up. Rick Ross. And so we think of Rick Ross. I mean, I don't have to be too creative to speak on what we know him as. I'm the biggest boss that you've seen thus far. Every day I'm hustling. But one of his big investments, which have turned out to be rather lucrative, is a small empire of Wingstop franchises. It seems very novel. I mean, who talks about I'm successful having Wingstop shops? But I imagine if we were able to talk to Rick Ross, he'd tell you that's a lot less stress on him managing an operation that's simply selling chicken wings and fries and sugar water. I don't know. I think they sell ranch. But once again, all of these are ingredients that have to be sourced and created by some entity. I'll be honest, I don't know the details of who Rick Ross sources his food from, but I think this is a great idea. This is a great model to all the entrepreneurs and hoods across America. You know, this is worth looking into. How much did this man invest into having a Wingstop empire? You know, before you can build an empire, you got to get your hut straight first. You know, let me not worry about a castle till I get my hut straight. And so he figured out there's enough people and wherever these areas are where these Wingstop built brick and mortars are that eat chicken wings, that eat fries. There's a chef that has to prepare these. There's a whole science and culture around just food culture. Chefs, what we call them, makers, right? And so he realized I can sell these in these locations. I'm going to use my name. You know me as Rick Ross, the rapper, but I'm going to use my name to drive. I'm going to drive customers to these places. You're selling chicken wings no different than Indies, Richie's, Churches, KFC. It's all chicken, but I'm going to leverage my name, my popularity to sell this product. This is a real product. You can listen to my song once it's gone off. Maybe it's a 2-minute song, 3-minute song, it's gone. But you can eat this. You can eat this from my Wingstop, and it becomes a part of your body. You know, tell me something that's more impactful as far as an investment. Because there's farmers that have to raise these chickens and grow these potatoes, is the point I'm making. And so when we think about codified approaches to how do we strengthen our farmers? How do we strengthen the small farmers who I ain't gonna say small farm, limited resource farmers who aren't able to get into your Costco, your Kroger, your Whole Foods? Well, say if we have a layer of just, you know, entrepreneurial-minded investors that want Wingstops, you know, do we have a network in place to where if I'm a young man in Dayton, Ohio, if I'm a young lady in Charlotte, North Carolina that wants to start a wing business, you know, I saw this guy, Rick Ross, he has a wing business. We should have networks in place where you can go directly to the farmers, the producers who produce the things you need. And my thing is challenging people. I'm still learning. If there's 10 things to learn, I'm at number 2. So I'm challenging people. Learn the people around you that produce the things that you already know the people eat. And so once again, Rick Ross is a great example of how he's taking a simple concept of a chicken wing and fries and leveraged his popularity to be able to make a successful Wingstop empire.
Now, you know, the Beehive is real. Beyonce, she has a rabid following. You know, she definitely looked at as an icon, especially in our community. But a lot of people don't know that she's invested in watermelon water. Now, watermelon water is a cold-pressed watermelon juice. Now, just for the sake of health, I know when we say watermelon, you know, it does evoke, you know, some imagery that is not flattering. You know, they used to have us dancing with the watermelon, you know, and that was a negative connotation. However, with watermelon, it helps, it contains compounds that helps to prevent cancer. You know, it improves heart health. It may lower inflammation and stress. It helps to prevent macular degeneration, helps relieve muscle soreness, and it's good for your skin and hair. You know, there are a lot of benefits of drinking watermelon water, like watermelon juice, as well as even eating the rind. Even for for men, watermelon rind can help deal with sexual intimacy problems.
On to get the yang up.
Yes, sir. strong like Rottweiler. You know what I'm saying? Just eat some doggone watermelon. But Beyonce is investing in watermelon and also other vegan endeavors. So it's there. The opportunity is there. The people we look up to and that entertain us, you know, they're even investing in agriculture. And we need to start doing the same thing, whether on a small level or a big level, even if it's just on your household, that opportunity is there.
Look at this, man. I had the pleasure of meeting this brother a few years back at a small farms conference, Jason Brown. So he was the highest paid center in the NFL. He made $25 million. He played for the Rams. He quit football at age 29 to become a farmer. He gave it all up. I'm the top of the list as far as, you know, being a center at my position. I've made millions. But he quit to become a farmer and specifically growing sweet potatoes. Now, you remember a few weeks back, we had our brother on, Hashim Crawley, who has this product called Auntie's Yams, right? He was explaining how Auntie's Yams is a derivative. Had the rest of my yams at my auntie's house, then what? Look how all of these things tie together, right? And so in a perfect world where melanated people are like, you know what, I'm not taking no for an answer. I ain't smiling no more when it comes to agriculture. And so we got a brother, and I mean, Jason Brown, I don't know the specific acreage, but he has a large sweet potato operation. He's able to give
1,000 acres.
1,000 acres, okay. And so he's able to give to, I know he's very big into charity and helping local organizations. And so practically speaking, because with B1AG, we don't want to come in as beggars. What did you say? Instead of being a beggar, I'd rather grow a rutabaga, right? And so instead of begging, here's a man that's mastered a system of a product that people eat anyway. I love sweet potatoes. My babies love sweet potatoes, whether it's chopped up in yams, whether it's the whipped sweet potatoes, whether it's sweet potato pie. So the brother Hashim came up with the sweet potato pie, Auntie's Yams. It's marketed. Same way Rick Ross understood, I'm going to use my leverage and what people know me as to sell these chicken wings. Hey, you know, I have Auntie's Yams. Here's a line that somebody said in a song that resonates with people. It resonates with a large consumer base. Most of the people we were coming up around that heard that had the rest of the yams at my auntie's house are people that eat sweet potato pies. Would you agree?
For sure.
Would you agree? And so this is once again, this is the codified approach of, okay, I heard about this brother who's operating out of Cleveland right now. He's from Jersey that has a sweet potato pie. I know the goal of his sweet potato pie not only is to provide a good, healthy, tasty product, but he specifically wants to source a significant amount of his actual product from Black producers. You know, instead of going to a Black farmer, hey, man, I got this idea. Will you use 5 acres of your hard-fought, hard-protected land to support my idea? Better yet, hey, I have this product that I know people around the country, white, black, green, purple, yellow, or brown, are buying this sweet potato. I need 2 tons of this for the next quarter to produce my pies, to sell to this group of people that need health, to run through these stores that want to find unique ways to generate revenue, to help these farmers who happen to have enough land. Hey, Mr. Brown, for example, if you're in the Carolinas, do you know somebody in Mississippi? My operation's in Mississippi. Do you know somebody in Mississippi in your network that can plug me with your product? Right? Like, you know, I'll give you a small percentage just for appointing me to them, but it will save me money in the long run if I know somebody closer to me that produces the product you produce. This is how this networking works. You realize within the ag world, it's been like a treasure to me. You realize how small the degrees of separation are. It is a legitimate community and it needs us. It's not a thing, oh, Black people, let's just come along and save the world. Like, no, it needs us. The food security of the world is a lot of it is going to be dependent on how well we innovate. We've been presented with the issue, and it's how well can we codify, how well can we activate, and on practical things such as with Mr. Brown and his yams, hooking up with the Hashim with Auntie's Yams, hooking up with the Black Soil Fulfillment Center that sells these yams, that hooks up with the somebody with the booth that sells sweet potatoes at the Capitol to people that come through. So it's all sorts of these opportunities, and it's just agreeing that this is a value, agreeing that this is a priority, agreeing that this is something that we want our young people to learn so they can master this later. because people are always going to have that need of eating.
And the thing about Jason Brown is what makes his situation kind of special is that at the time he quit, he had just signed a $35 million contract. He had just signed a $35 million contract and walked away from it at the height of his career to become a farmer. He had never farmed before ever in his life, never thought about farming. Starts this farm, gets 1,000 acres, and now he's producing well over 100,000 pounds of produce. And he donates the name of his farm is called First Fruits Farm. And part of the mission is to help fight hunger.
What's up, man?
Like he wants to help fight hunger in Lewisburg, North Carolina. So he actually donates his first harvest every year to the local food banks. So he's making money. He's making money. He's making money. He's donating food. He's fighting hunger. Hey man, can't beat it. Can't beat it at all. Today we're talking about Black athletes and entertainers who are getting to the money with ag. And there are a lot of our entertainers that we may not even think about that are, getting to the money in agriculture. For instance, they got Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman converted his 124-acre ranch into a giant honeybee sanctuary to save the bees. Morgan Freeman. Y'all know who Morgan Freeman is. He's the voice behind a lot of our great shows, great actor, longtime actor. But he's actually devoted his land to saving the bees. Now, Farmer Brian, could you tell us how important it is for that we make sure that our pollinators survive and thrive?
So 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat, whether you just eat fast food, whether you cook at home, 5-star dining, 1 out of every 3 bites of food comes from something that was pollinated by honeybees. Because of pesticides, what we'll call climate change, other unknown factors, large swaths of bee colonies are dying off. And so it's turned into a lucrative business. I've been fortunate to work with some farmers here in Kentucky that they raise bees. The same way you raise pit bulls or anything else, you can raise bees. It's called apiculture. And I actually took a course in it. And, when we think of bees, we think, oh, something's going to sting me or just honey. But we don't factor in, when we think about organic systems, natural systems, healthy ecosystems, it's the pollinators that make everything go. These are your birds. There's some seeds that won't germinate until it goes through a bird's digestive tract. And to me, that's just an indicator of how tied we are to the ecosystem. But bees, that's something simple. So he has 124 acres. I'll dedicate X amount of acres. And I mean, it's a very lucrative business, to be honest with you. But I'll tell you my all-time all-stars. And so I came up on Cash Money, Hot Boys. This is back with the original Hot Boys before, Ha and all of that. But one of the biggest moves, and I have to preface it, there was a gentleman, Mr. Tom. He had mentored me and some of the hero guys when we first started doing lawn care. And he was an older guy. He used to be a manager at a Levi's plant up in Canada. He was a military man, real stoic. And Mr. Tom, he had to been in the 70s. And he was just telling us, him and his friends, they got back from war. He had also been in war. And they were wanting to open up a gas station, just open a simple gas station. He lived up in Minnesota for some years. And he was just telling us about the things they went through trying to open a gas station. Any hood you go to, you see gas stations ran by brown people. I'm not a divisionist. I don't believe in dividing, but, to be practical and make justice for those who need justice. You rarely see black people owning a gas station, but this is what Mr. Tom, they had the money, the finance and everything, but it didn't happen. Fast forward a few years later, I learned about Baby and Ronald Williams. And, you know, like I said, we know them as Cash Money millionaires, Young Money, you know, put some respect on my name. But they have a company called Bronald Oil. It was an independent gas company called Bronald Oil and Gas, and this is down in the Gulf. I mean, what do we know them as? We know that they live down in the Gulf, Louisiana. This is obviously where a lot of the oil is harvested, so to speak. Why would I not? If I got a couple of mil on deck, I got some people that'll finance me. I got some buddies we can work cooperatively. Why would I not go into energy production? You think about Akon doing the solar in Africa. I don't know the status of Bronald Oil now, but I'm aware that, you know, these, when we talk about these challenges, when we talk about the alphas, you know, I don't know what's going on with Cash Money, but I know that was an alpha move. That was an alpha move. Like, I'm gonna jump out of entertaining you to powering you. Literally. You remember Birdman had the oil derrick tattooed on his head. And what that means to me, whether the company in itself was successful or not, it's the fact that they asserted themselves. They opened up a new lane that didn't exist. You know, at a time, the thought of a black man trying to open up a company that's dominated. Like, if you think agriculture is bad, oh, you go into the energy sector. Black people are like 0.00. You know, I don't know the number, but anything 0.00 is horrible. But who thinks about it? Who thinks that? You know, I'm guilty of it. I never grew up thinking about, you know what, one day I want to power the United States. I want to power the state of Kentucky. Never thought about it. That was always something that I assumed that, okay, this is just something that Kentucky Utilities does. LG, and this is something that somebody else does. And then you realize, once again, I don't know if you remember the number I shot you, just mining is $666 billion. In the same year, the entertainment generated $294 billion. You're almost tripling in value. And this is 2016. So you can imagine the energy consumption we have now. When we're talking about 5G, you know, we all have our opinions about 5G, but it's a thing. And we have to look at it. Okay, this is going to have to be powered by something. And if I don't like 5G, what kind of powering system are we developing? What kind of power system are we raising our children to challenge themselves to develop? So saying that to say that, you know, to me, whoa, Kimosabe, big balling is my hobby. That's big. That's big. And I would hope there's at least 100 individuals on planet Earth that noticed that move, that were inspired. I was one. If it was 100, I know I'm one that was inspired, you know, regardless of your prowess on a microphone, regardless of your ability to move amongst the snakes, so to speak, get to the bag in a city element. If you can insert yourself in the natural resources world in any way, you've made a success for your people. When we talk about Black history, Bronald Oil to me was Black history. Akon, you know, making his move, you know, I've heard the stories about his relationship with China. Irregardless of that, who's taken a singing career and turned this into a company that's created power for millions of people in your homeland? That's the essence of feeding your block. Now, being able to protect it, that's another thing. Holler and impact for that. But when it comes to powering, these are the areas that we have to insert ourselves in and urge our kids. We don't have to force our kids to do nothing. Once you plant that seed, their brain is going to give them the intuition to pursue these careers, to be entrepreneurs in these fields. I'll be honest with you. I had a few courses on ag and energy. We are nowhere near where we could be as far as energy efficiency within our society. And last show we were talking about the Black family reaching zero wealth by 2050. There's a lot of other dynamics that are going to culminate in 2050 outside of our community. And many of those are directly related to not only food security, but energy. If we see the problems we have now, we have these rolling blackouts across the world with 7.6 billion people. What do you think this is going to look like with a 5G world? So by 2050, we'll be up to 10G. You know, keep it real. So what does this energy consumption look like? Are we raising the children, the minds? Are we creating communities to have these kids thinking about, now, how can I be the Master P, the Baby, the Birdman, the Jay-Z of the energy sector, of the agriculture sector? Let me not worry about making somebody dance. I want to light your house. I want to make your stove run. Once we get our children because you have to start with the seeds, right? Because everybody that run these companies now at one time or another was a seed, and their community that they came from instilled in them the value that, hey, you want to be a producer rather than consumer. It is better to give than to receive. It is better to serve than to be served, because all of these areas are profitable. And when you're talking about producing, that's the essence of it.
Now we're talking about the agriculture, and the entertainers and athletes. Now, a lot of things. The one thing that makes these athletes and entertainers and like how we revere them so much is about it really goes back to money. So, especially with rap, it's braggadocious. Everybody wants to talk about how fly they are, how much money they are, how they make it rain and stuff like that. But none of them, if you put them all together, they don't make as much money as agriculture. Agriculture, food and related industries contributed $1.053 trillion. Trillion dollars. You ain't heard not one rapper claim to be a trillionaire. We're just now becoming. We just have now having a select few become billionaires. But I'm talking about $1 trillion industry. Everybody has to eat. Everybody has to eat. So why not own a slice of that pie? Wouldn't you like to own a slice of $1 trillion pie?
Let's put this in perspective, bro. That 1 trillion, I'm a horrible mathematician, but I understand percentages and spatial. So depending on what report you look at, and I know there's some research going on at Tuskegee right now, specifically looking at, how much will reparations be just when it comes to land allocation to African-American families. So I've heard numbers from 17 trillion to 27 trillion. Personally, I don't think it's a dollar amount, but if we want to stick to the numbers, $17 trillion is what, there's a large contingency of us agree, okay, this is reparative justice. If we understand that there's an industry, whether it's agriculture, whether it's making purple lollipops, that generates 1 trillion, and you understand it was less than 200 years ago, your ancestors were the ultimate contributors to this industry, it makes sense. Okay, if I see that over the time my ancestors did this became this $1 trillion industry, I question will we have a better outcome going into this 2050, focusing on how we can contribute and get some of this 1 trillion versus waiting on somebody to allocate 1 trillion. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like a percent, like having stake in ownership, real deal ownership, not subleasing, not what is it, sharecropping. Like, no, I want a quarter. As a group, we want a quarter of this industry. I ain't trying to take it from you. I'm trying to make it better, and I can. This is what we do, but we gonna get paid for this time. If you factor from 2021 to 2050, you stand to gain a lot more just pursuing an agenda of feeding people than waiting on somebody to decide, I did you wrong. And though I'm struggling, I don't, my dollar is losing value, but I'm going to make my priority giving you something back. That's insanity. So practically speaking, all emotions and ideologies aside, if we're going to set out a codified approach to solving our problems, to dispel this concept that we're going to be at zero family wealth by 2050, it makes sense to become a production culture. This doesn't start with a couple of little crazy dudes on YouTube or StreamYard talking about farming. Like we say, we're a pixel in a much larger picture that's being painted. And we are in the driver's seat right now to decide which direction is this going to go. Are we going to drive the rest of the world into further consumerism, into further, hey, y'all just eat, drink, and be merry till it's all over? Or are we going to assert ourselves in the real way? I'll be honest with you. When it comes to my household, I can't assert myself when it comes to a dollar. And I'm not going to try to. But there are natural things that we were all, as melanated men, blessed with to assert ourselves. What do we know? The women go to the light and where it's warm. We were talking about Akon and Cash Money. They created light and warmth. And so there's so many metaphors, but once again, putting into perspective in a B1AG code, we stand to do better getting ourselves good, spending the next 10 years. If we got these 250,000 third through fifth graders on a track of production, these next 7 years that you go through education, regardless of what's happening in those schools or on your computers, as a community, it's enough of us that want to make sure that your mind is focusing on creating energy, whether it's caloric energy through the food that you're producing and distributing, or whether it's the energy that's powering the nation that you're going to live in. This is what I want you to think about for the next 10 years. We've created a community and a code where we're going to reinforce it. I'm going to give you 24 hours of my life, young man and woman, to show you how to garden. I can't tell you how to do stock market, but I point you to bro over there that can show you what to invest with what you're producing. When this becomes a value, it's in conjecture. We're doing rational math. When this becomes a value in our community to that degree, we solved all the problems that we're fighting for right now, because it is going to be our melanated seeds who are going to determine where this goes. Right now, we're on the wheel a little bit, but it's ultimately going to be these seeds. And before I shut up, there's this African proverb. I'm not saying it right, but if you fail to keep the kids in your village warm, they're going to come back and burn that village down to feel the warmth. We see this happening all around the country, right? All around the world. These youth are blooping. They're blooping. I'll say fortunate or unfortunate, I'm 40. I'm not dealing with, I had a whole different anxiety, but to be 20 years old, 15 years old, 25 right now, in a world where everything that you've been told by your parents, grandparents, the good people, the smart people, the rich people, these rich people I've been looking up to are bunny hopping. These CEOs are quitting left and right. People are jumping off of buildings. We're eating ourselves. We're going in on ourselves. And so the practical thing is, are we as a people, as a group, showing these youth what it looks like to cooperate behind the code? I can tell my kids things all day. Hey, don't do this, don't do this. But if I'm not there to enforce it, if they don't see my hands involved in that activity, me no hable what you say that day. Me no hable. And so once again, we were talking yesterday, this is the opportunity for the cats getting out of prison. Nobody's got to give you permission or legal verification to serve a community and show these youth how to do something. Show them what it's like to work with people you don't like and get along with. If we're in this same jersey, guess what? That 2050 number ain't going to be like, okay, well, you was a good, the parents you came from that didn't want to do nothing in 2021. Oh, I like them. They were pledged to this organization. They had this job. They held this status. So wealth don't see that. Wealth sees, did you take the time beforehand to build this? And that's the honest math of it. Either you build or you don't. An anteater comes along and knocks an ant's mound down. What does the Bible say for people to send to that? It says, study the ant. An ant don't sit around going to the anteater like, man, you just knocked my mound down. God gave that anteater a nose to dig down in ant mounds and dig food out. That's natural. You can't get mad at the anteater. It is upon the ant to go to work. Go to work. My whole thing with agriculture, you can't go wrong producing food. There's no right answer. The best farmer in the world right now can't give you all of the right answers about what's the best way to produce, because just like each of us have a code that's put into us when we come on this planet, every operation and business has its own code because you're dealing with different personalities. But when you're able to meet one another, when you're able to see eye to eye, when you're able to say, hey, you agree with that this is important, I do too. Then you're able to start breaking down what is your role, what is your area of strength. Let me not get into something as serious as this right now, trying to be something I'm not, trying to give counsel that I can't give. If there's this small thing, I can come through and get these seeds in the ground quicker than anybody. I can't pick up a shovel. My arms are 2 weeks. But I bet I can get up and down these roads with these seeds, proverbial or literal, quicker than any of you. And it's being able to identify and appreciate your niche for the purpose of growing and empowering, whether we're talking literal or theoretical.
And I encourage everyone out there, all the B1AG viewers out there, to really Google Black athletes and entertainers investing in agriculture. You'll be surprised at what some of your favorite artists and entertainers are, your artists, entertainers, and athletes, what they're really investing in. But as far as you, this is my final word on it. Hey, shoot your shot. Put your shovel in the ground. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. It's only gonna help. Any last words?
Put your shovel in the ground. The anteater come around, rebuild your mound. And if it does it again, just rebuild again later.
Hey, shoot your shot. Grow something.
Gross.
This has been another episode of B1AG. And as we do every day, we just want to reinforce that if you really want to know something,
drop the ego and learn how to grow something.
have a blessed day. Hey, let's get it.